Hello all, I am back, and today we are covering all of the ranged weapons. I broke this series into two parts because, honestly, it might be too much. It's 64 different weapons, and yeah, I think it needs to be split. So, first off, we're going to start with something I didn't actually cover last time. These are three tester weapons that have all been, modeled and, prototyped, but they're not in the current game. So, for starters, we've got this little throwing knife from Japan. It's called the kunai knife, I believe. And it is a reskin of, what is it? The throwing knife, which is right here. It's a reskin of the throwing knife. I'm not including it in this tier list, obviously. It's not in the game yet, but it does exist and it is modeled. I'm pretty sure it's going to come from treasure chests in the future. Then we got the Ferguson rifle. This is one of the earliest breech-loading rifles, to my knowledge. It is developer exclusive. Aussie Pop has one on his wall. If you're interested, you see him spawned in. You can go check that out. I'm pretty sure it's OP as fuck, but I've never even fired one, so I couldn't tell you its stats. And then finally, we've got this thing called the Doglock pistol. Pretty sure this is coming. It looks a lot like the Holstein, Prussian cavalry, whatever you want to call it. It looks a lot like that. The devs were meeting around, and they gave it desail stats. I'm pretty sure it's not going to have those when it's added to the game, but if you're interested, this pistol is functionally identical to a desail. So, with those three little non-yet implemented weapons out of the way, let's get into actual weapons. So, I think we'll start with pistols. I'm going to bring the Etienne and the Holstein up here. So, first off, sharp pistol. Usable. Perfectly fine little gun, doing 50 damage, pretty shit accuracy, but that's what you expect. It's a tiny little pistol. Dorset, 55 damage, HBC variant of the tiny little pistol. It's a cute little gun, there's nothing else to say. They're standard, reliable, cheap as fuck. Smithing stores sell them. They're like 10 pounds, I think. Very easy to acquire these things. Etienne, dog shit. This is a treasure pistol, does 45 damage. I don't know why you'd use a pistol that ever does 45 damage. They have fastest reload in the game, 8.5 seconds, but this is a fucking treasure item, so you never use it in combat without insuring it, and if you're insuring an Etienne, there's something wrong with you. So, bottom line is, don't touch the Etienne. They're cool for walls, but they're just not good weapons. Holstein, good, very good. This is used to be known as a Prussian cavalry pistol. Does 60 damage. It's more accurate than any of the other ones. It's basically a Charleston musket as a pistol, if I'm being honest. The only difference is it can't mount a bayonet, obviously. But yeah, that's the Holstein. It's definitely meta. It's a lot harder to get now because they've made it... Well, not a lot harder. It's significantly harder to get because they've made it... What's it freaking called? It takes up more of your XP in tiered contracts, and so it is harder to get. So just, yeah, keep that in mind. And then we've got okay, let's see here. First off, we've got the Charleston. It's so funny how some of these look so similar. The Charleston. Charleston is definitely meta. It's an incredibly easy musket to get. People love it because it's got the best bayonet hitbox of pretty much any gun except the Tradesman. The bayonet is mounted on the very, very front of the Charlie, and that's why people love it, because it has the most reach of any bayonet musket. Except for the Tradesman, obviously, but no one has Tradesman yet, so, well, 12 people do, but besides the point. It's got a very good bayonet hitbox, it's accurate, it's a dependable, little, cheap-as-fuck musket you can very easily replace. This is what most new players go for when they want a bayonet on a musket. So, that is that. And then we've got... Is that the Charlie Carbine? Yeah, the Charlie Carbine. Carbines in-game right now are down bad. They are not very good. I don't ever recommend picking up a carbine if you can avoid it. They do 50 damage. Their reloads are like a second or two faster than the muskets, which is ridiculous. The carbines, they should have faster reloads. That's the idea with a carbine, you know? Faster reload for lower damage. But they're like so similar to the muskets, it's not even funny. I think the Charlie Carbine is like 9.5 seconds, and the Charlie Musket's like 11, roughly. It's been a while since I've tested that, but yeah, not good. Then we've got the Whitney Musket. This is an HBC... Sorry. The Whitney Carbine. This is an HBC exclusive. It's a short Whitney musket. Again, it's a carbine. It does 50 damage. It's actually even less accurate. Uh, it's like it's really inaccurate. It's like sharp pistol accurate. I have no idea why the Whitney carbine was just made so absurdly bad. Like even the Charlie carbine has better accuracy than the Whitney carbine. I don't know why that is, but that is the way it is. Blunder. I'd say Blunder is usable. The blunderbuss fires 5 shots, does 150 damage, 30 per shot. It does drain your munition pouches very fast in like 2 shots, but it's still good. It's a quality weapon. I wouldn't call it meta, but it's there. It's there. Then we've got the Calvet carbine you get from the bounty board. I might actually put the C tier. It has the fastest reload of any musket. Oh, sorry, of any carbine. It's like 9 seconds, if I recall correctly. I don't remember exactly, but it's either 9 or 9.5. But it has a slightly faster reload than the other 2 carbines. The trade-off, though, is it's like 200, or no, it used to be 200. It's expensive to insure compared to the other carbines. I don't remember exactly how much it is. I haven't used one of these in decades. But it is expensive to insure compared to the carbines, even with the money, like, reduction, right? Money's all increased in value, and so it costs less money to insure things, but it's still expensive, which is completely unnecessary because it's a carbine. And then we've got the Whitney musket, which is kind of just hilarious to me. The Whitney musket combines the best attributes of the Charleston musket and the Clark musket. So it's got the damage of the Clark and the accuracy and bayonet of the Clark. Well, actually, the bayonet's pretty close to the Clark. Sorry, shit. Oh, there's so many names. Okay. The Whitney musket has the accuracy of the Charleston and the damage of the Clark musket. Okay? It's this weird weapon, and this is, by the way, this is the default weapon that all SLC members get. And it's better than the Master Smithing Colonist musket, which is ridiculous to me. It's better than the Clark, it's better than the Charleston, and it's free to HBC. That thing needs to be nerfed, okay? I'm just saying, what needs to be nerfed? Speak of the devil, the Clark musket. So Clarks do 70, just like the Whitney. Charleston does 60. Clarks do 70, but they're less accurate than the Whitney, and the bayonet is set further back on the musket, so you've got a little bit less reach, which people do complain about. Personally, I prefer damage, because I don't use bayonets, period, but it is something to complain about, sure. So, yeah, if you can get a Charlie and you prefer bayonets, go for the Charlie. But yeah, Clarks are about double the insurance cost of Charlies, and that's another big reason people go for Charlies. They're just easier to get in general. Then we got the Jaeger. I love the Jaeger. This is now called the Baron Rifle. This is pretty much my go-to for bird hunting and any sniping where I don't have a tane in the first place. It's pretty expensive to insure, but it's very easy to get. You just do some crate running on Rupert. You bring crates from the den to the criminal warehouse once you have... Sorry. You bring crates from the criminal warehouse to the den once you've got the den contracts in hand. You bring like 4 or 5 of those crates, and you can get yourself a Jaeger. Alternatively, you can just buy one for like 1k. They're kind of expensive to insure, but they're very good. These are the most accurate guns in the game. They deal 70 damage. They're good. They're just good. And hey, speaking of damage, I should probably bring this up. All guns and all bows, all projectile weapons, excluding the throwables, have a 1.2 damage multiplier. So if I'm hitting you with a 70 damage Bayern rifle, which is this guy right here, I'm going to be doing 84 to your head, okay? So if you're hit in the head, you're being dealt more damage. So just keep that in mind. I'm not going to go through all of the stats for all the weapons when it comes to headshots, but just keep that in mind. You're doing more damage to the head, and this is true on both players and animals. So, just food for thought. If you're picking a gun, you will be doing more damage if you land a headshot, which is why crashing is good. Then we got the Milton. The Milton's a weirdo. It used to be horrid because it did 65, despite being harder to get. I'm going to put it in usable. Actually, no, I'm going to put it in bad, because it's better than it used to be, but not by much. Because the thing with the Milton is, it's more expensive to insure by a little bit than the Bayern. It's a master smithing weapon. Actually, no, you know what? No, I'm sorry. I'm going to put it usable. Because, okay, it has the same stats, finally, as the Jaeger, which I think it shouldn't. I think it should be better. But it's expensive. It's a fucking expensive gun. So I'm going to put it usable. It's annoyingly difficult to make these things. It's also annoyingly difficult to insure them. So it's going usable. Oh, man. And then we've got a controversial pick. Oh, man. Because I can't stand the desail at the moment, but there are a lot of people who love it. I'll put it... This is actually really hard, because I'm going to piss off people once I do this. I'm not entirely sure where I want to put it. I want to base this, obviously, off my own opinion, but at the same time, there are people who use it and are good with it. I'm going to put it meta, because it is meta, I just don't think it's very good, and I'll explain why. So, the desail is a treasure chest exclusive, and it is one of the 2 guns in-game that can one-tap at range. The problem with the desail is it has fucking sharp accuracy at range, and that's just not good. You can't have an... desail was done so dirty last update. I really cannot stand what has been done to desail. It went from the long-ass reload sniper to this retarded weapon that's competing with blunders with twice the reload of blunders. I just do not like it. I could... that's a whole video in itself, the nerf of desail. But it's meta, and so I'm going to put it in meta, even though I don't like it. I am not a fan of desails. They're just too inaccurate for me. And they're only a one-tap if you can hit someone in the head. They're doing, I believe, 85 at the moment, which is not... It's no longer going to bleed someone out. So, it's not a tane. It's not going to bleed someone out. It's good, I guess, if you're landing headshots at point blank, but the inaccuracy kills it. I think it should have been kept a sniper, and I think instead of nerfing its accuracy, they should have just nerfed the damage, making it not one tap and keeping it as a high damage sniper that takes forever to reload would have been better. Because right now there is no high damage sniper that takes forever to reload. Everything is a fast reload comparatively to the desail. Yeah, that's a whole video in its own right. I'm not even going to get into desail cringe. Then we got the tane. Everyone can agree the tane is stupid fucking good. This thing does 95, 114 to the head. It is the only gun capable of bleeding people out reliably, because, like, you know, blunders and shit can bleed someone out if they get, like, a 90 damage, 3 little lead balls to them. But this is the only gun capable of bleeding people out reliably. Tanes are great. 15-second reload. The accuracy isn't, like, amazing. It's kind of a cross between, like, a Jaeger and a Charlie. It's a little better than a Charlie, accuracy-wise, but it's just so good. It has outstanding damage. And then we've got the Tradesman, I believe. This is Sundance holding his Tradesman. That is Sundance, right? Yeah, that's Sundance in his old set, I'm pretty sure. If I'm wrong, someone please correctly tell me who this person is in the comments. But I'm pretty sure that's Sun. Anyways, Sundance here is holding the Tradesman. And the Tradesman's a cool little gun. It does 65. It has the shortest reload of any musket. It's like basically carbine level reload time, which I'm fine with. And it's pinpoint accurate. It's almost as accurate as the desail. It's Kent accuracy and the musket, which I find hilarious. It was basically a better Kent the moment it was introduced. It's definitely good. It's got a good bayonet hitbox. It's on the tip. I love it. The problem is it's a dev exclusive item, which is given out for events, just like the tane. So there's not a lot of them out there. It's like 12 tradesman muskets, I believe. But it's good. You can get your hands on one. They're good. And I'm pretty sure they're going to become common once all of these items get implemented into the game, because there will be items that stay, right? Like, there's going to be items that are going to stay dev exclusive, like, I'm pretty sure the tane will, because it's just too OP to make into the game. But then there's going to be other items that are added, you know, like scimitar, tradesman, etc. I'm pretty sure those items are all just going to be coming into the game, you know, like the kunai, doglock, etc. You know what I mean. And so yeah, I expect tradesmen to be more common in the future, probably as a fort reward. We'll see where that goes. I don't really know. This is all speculation, clearly. But I'm pretty sure a gun at its level with those stats is going to be implemented into the game, whereas a gun like the tane, which was made OP from the very beginning, probably won't be, because they'd have to nerf it heavily if it became a commonplace weapon, which would destroy the point of it. We don't need another commonplace weapon like it, because there's so many others that fill in the gap, right? I will say this, though, what we do need is a high-damage sniper. That'd be kind of nice to get. So now we've got the espangola. The espangola is a cool gun. The only thing I don't like about it is the way it's held in your hand. Kind of like the carbine, the Calvet. You hold it in this retarded manner where you've got your one hand on the butt, like the buttstock, and you got your other just, you know, on the handguard here, just sort of awkwardly propping it up like that. Nick here in this picture is doing a pretty good job showing it off. Your hand is not anywhere near the trigger, and that carries over even when you're firing it. And I can't stand that. I cannot stand that. You're holding the back of the weapon, okay? That's the point I'm trying to make. Your hand is nowhere near the trigger guard. It's nowhere near. So just, yeah, not a fan. Anyways, oh man. We've got all the bows, and we've got the scimitar, which I didn't cover last video because it's another dev exclusive item. So I guess I'll talk about the scimitar real quick because it's all very unconfirmed. It's basically these weapons. It's very, 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 very unconfirmed. So the scimitar... Scroll. The scimitar looks like that. If you ever see it in game, it looks kind of like a droopy blade of grass, which is really funny looking. Apparently it's a saber reskin. I've never even seen one used in game, but apparently it's a saber reskin. So make of that what you will. Let's do the crossbow before I get to the weapons I hate. So crossbows are usable. They have a lot of problems the bows have, but they're just better than bows. I think the one thing I find so killer with the crossbow is how it forces you to walk while you're reloading it. It takes 3.5 seconds to reload. I think if I wanted to fix crossbow, this might make it a bit OP, so then I'd make it master smithing. What I would do to fix crossbow is I would allow a player to reload it at will, whenever they wanted, just like all the muskets. And that would make it better. That would essentially make it fill the carbine role. But it wouldn't be as like long range as the carbines. The carbines can shoot further. And so that's what I do with the crossbow, if I wanted to balance it. Because right now, the fact that it forces you into a reload animation instantly after you fire it, or, you know, not fire it, loose a bolt. Instantly after you do that, right, it forces you into a reload animation, which I just cannot stand. And that is probably the only reason I'd ever choose a bow over crossbow in a combat scenario. Otherwise, crossbow is better than bow in combat. It doesn't have to do that stupid thing where you get fucking planted in place and sit there and slowly draw back your, knock your arrow, draw it back, etc. You know, it doesn't take a decade to loose an arrow, you know? That's why I like the crossbow. You can shoot that thing off instantly. But it still has the problems the crossbow has. It's very hindering, and you're easy prey to most gun users if you're using a crossbow incorrectly. And the other thing is you can't fire it from behind cover. Keep saying that. You can't use it from behind cover because you're shooting at torso height. You're not firing like a lead ball from eye height. You're shooting this bolt from torso height, and so you can't sit behind a rock or a fence, and fire downwards, which sucks, but there's nothing you can do about that. That's the same problem with the bows, too. Okay, so now let's just do all the bows. Bow. Let's talk about bows. So, I don't even know where to start. So, bows are good in hunting. They are good at hunting. You're less likely to, like, aggro an animal or make it run away from you if you hit him with a bow than if you hit him with a gun. You also get your projectiles back when you kill an animal, and so that's why I recommend longbows for hunting. They're the best weapons when it comes to hunting, specifically. But when it comes to combat, oof, I do not recommend using bows in the slightest. Specifically the ones down here, because these ones just do not do enough damage to be viable. For example, right, you take a short bow, metal arrows are doing 30, okay? Fire arrows, about 30, sometimes 35. Stone arrows are doing like 20, 25. And wood arrows are doing like 15, okay? And you have to draw and fire multiple times. You have to draw and loose these arrows multiple times to get a kill. And every time you do that, you plant yourself firmly in the ground, unable to move while you're drawing back this arrow. And that's what kills bows in combat. Fundamentally, guns cream bows in combat just because bows lock you in place. And yes, obviously, long bows lock you in place for longer than the short bows and the hunting bows, because they have shorter draw times. But it's still a really big thing. Guns are so much more maneuverable, and just, well, I have a list of these, just frame of reference, right? Guns outdamage bows. They also outrange bows. They also don't have draw time. They also don't lock you in place. The projectiles are also faster. And there's a sixth one. I can never remember the sixth one. But there's 6 major advantages guns have over bows. I have a list because people always DM me, bows are actually good in combat, what are you talking about? And I just pull that stupid list out every time. So just FYI, if you're going to use a bow in combat, I don't recommend these 4. These are the only 2 usable ones. Because the thing is, right, you can loose an arrow, and you don't have to charge the bow fully. You just take a massive damage penalty. So, like, if I charge this to half, I'm doing, like, maybe 30 or so damage, 25 damage with a stone arrow. No, sorry, with a metal arrow. I'm doing maybe, like, 25, 30 damage with a metal arrow if I charge this longbow to half, which would be the same timing and the same speed if I was using, like, a hunting bow or a short bow. And so, if you can just get the same functionality out of a longbow, why are you bothering using a hunting bow or a short bow? You can just draw the longbow less and get the same effect. You're launching your arrow faster, you're doing less damage, it's what you'd expect in the first place. So just don't even bother with these. These are so redundant. Can't stand bows. There is a singular time when bows are viable in, like, combat. A singular time, and that is group fighting. Bows are essentially a glass cannon in group fighting. They're good up until anyone starts to shoot at you. You know, when you take fire as a bow, you're not lasting long at all. Because bows are kind of just suppressing weapons. The only advantage bows have is fire rate, you know? That's all bows have. You can launch arrows faster than the people, you know, defending can reload their guns and fire at you, you know? And so that's the one big advantage bow users have, and that's the only advantage bow users have. To gun users, fundamentally, you could make the argument that, like, water doesn't affect bow users as much, but the big thing is the meta bow projectile is fire arrows, which depend entirely on you not being wet in the first place, so you can't even make that argument, because ultimately, fire arrows are the best for bow PvP, and then metal arrows are the best for hunting. And yeah, only metal arrows that even applies to. You know, you can be wet and fire a metal arrow, but you can't do the same with a fire arrow because you need to light that in the first place. So those are my thoughts on bows. That could be an entire video in itself. They are just not good, especially in, like, 1v1, 2v2 scenarios, where you just have to sit there and draw back your bowstring. It's just suicide, okay? And so that's why I can't stand bows in combat. They're good for hunting, and that's basically it. Yeah, hunting, and then select instances where you're not being shot at in a group scenario. Because if you're not being shot at with a bow, and you're, you know, loosing all your arrows, mowing people down, then it's somewhat survivable, right? Then you're going to be doing some serious damage, but at that point, you might as well use a crossbow. Or, you know, use one of the many other fast-firing alternatives. Well, actually, there's only one fast-firing alternative, that's the crossbow, because I just described how bad these are. But yeah, so, TLDR, bows are hunting weapons, and they're effective in certain group settings. But if you're going to use a bow in a group setting, remember you are a glass cannon, and that's why people use muskets. Bows are just so obsolete compared to them in most metrics, most possible metrics. And that's why I didn't even include bows last video, because they're just not combat effective weapons. So that is my tier list of all of the guns and bows and crossbows and what have yous of Northwind. These are the ranged weapons. I hope you enjoyed last video. If you haven't seen it, that's all the melee weapons, except scimitar, because scimitar, no one has it yet. So just, yeah, that is what I've got for you all. These are my current rankings. I hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something, and I hope this, you know, gave you a better idea of what's meta right now on the frontier.